In this section, we are going to look at something very important called as the require statements and modifiers. What are these require statements and modifiers? In any program, if you write, you might have multiple conditions to write. Yes. So based on a condition, you want to execute some code. Yeah. For that, we usually use if and else conditions in other programming languages, which goes like, let's say, take an example of get the balance, right? You don't want anyone in the world to call this get balance function and know how much your smart contract is currently holding, correct? Probably you want to restrict this only to the owner of this contract, right? So what you can do here is to say if, right, if the message.sender, whoever is calling this function, is equal to the owner. Remember, the owner has been set by the constructor that we created. Only if this is true, only if the message.sender is the owner, you will display this balance to him, right? And you can create an else condition where you can say return 0, or you can also say revert. Revert in Solidity means that the code will stop executing. It's like stop in the JavaScript world, right? You will just say revert. So here this will stop the execution of the program, right? Now only if this is the owner, it is going to return the balance. We'll look at how this is working by deploying this. So let me remove the constructor sum because I don't want to always enter some integer before deploying. Makes it difficult, right? So let's take it off. Now only owner equal to message.sender is in the constructor, right? Okay. So I'll go to, let's say, CCC57, right, the first account, and deploy this, which means the owner will be CCC57 in my contract, right? So what do I need to check? The get balance. So if I am not the owner, let's say, based on the condition that I have given here, where is the condition? Yeah, based on the condition here, 4B48A is not the owner, right? So message.sender will be 4B48A if I call from that, and the owner is someone else, CCC5C, right? So now go to get balance. It is going to throw an error to you saying the transaction has been reverted to the initial state. Why did this happen? Because I called revert. It went into if statement, checked the condition, right? Since the condition is false, correct? Since the condition is not met, it is going to the else condition. It's in regular language that we use itself. If something goes on like this, do this, else do something else, right? That's exactly what happens. Yeah, that's why the transaction was reverted to the initial state and it threw an error to us. Now, if I change the address to the owner itself and call get balance, right, it's going to give me the balance of the contract. Yeah, because this condition is true now and hence it went into this particular statement, correct? So that is the concept of conditional execution of a function, right? Okay. Now, just to do this, if a condition is getting satisfied, do something, else revert. This is the usual things people will always try to do, right? But for this, you are writing 5 lines of code, right? Solidity gives us a way to reduce the number of lines of code and do the exact same thing in a single statement. And that is called as the require statement. So let me just comment it out for your further usage, right? And go to require statement. What is this require statement? Require is just like if and else, but just that it has only one statement, one line of code. You'll be able to do whatever you were doing with the 5 lines of code before. So here I'm going to say required, open and close bracket, the same condition, right? Message.sender is equal to owner. Yeah. Once I do this, only if this condition gets satisfied, it's going to go to the next line of the code itself. Otherwise, it will stop there itself, right? So next line of code needs to be return address of this dot balance. The exact same thing that we did there. Only thing is this comes inside the if condition and else has revert. right? In the backend, require is also doing the same thing. It's saying require message.sender equal to owner. If it is not, don't go to the next line. If it is yes, then go to the next line, right? So we'll just check it out if it is working fine, just like how we wanted to. So deploy this contract and call the function from the second address. It's gonna revert something, an error, right? If I change the address to the first one, that is the owner, and call the same thing, get balance, it's gonna give 0. No errors, nothing, right? So that's the concept of this require statement itself. It is a short form of if and else statements. And in the backend, this also uses revert, correct? Then one more concept we need to keep in mind is that require statements, let's say now whenever you called this from the other account, right? So get balance, this is giving an error. It's a VM error. It has been reverted to initial state and all of that, right? But we do not know why it failed. Yeah, the user needs to be let known that, hey, you know what, you are not the owner of this contract and hence you cannot see the balance. Something like that needs to be displayed to the user. Only then he will understand, oh fine, okay, only if I'm the owner I'll be able to see this. Otherwise he'll keep on trying this thinking there is some other problem, right? So for that also require statement gives us an option of giving a error statement, right? Here you can say only the owner can see balance, right? So this is a good message to tell to the user that, you know what, your transaction is being reverted because this is the reason, right? So let me deploy this and show you how this will be displayed. So once I deploy, change the address and now call get balance. Notice here that it says I have reverted the transaction, right? Reason provided by the contract is that you only the owner can see the balance, right? So this can be displayed in your website, in your mobile application, so that the user can get to know, okay, I understand that the get balance can only be seen by the owner, so it is not going to work out, right? So that is the false statement or the error statement that you can give in the require statement. Got it? So that is about the require statement. Next we'll look at what is this modifier and how is that going to help. Right? Modifiers are closely associated to the require statements. Okay. So how many lines of code is this program? Around 130 lines of code. Out of this, half of the things is just demo, right? So let's say you have many functions here which use the same require statement. Okay, you might want to do, the same thing, right, in a this swap function also. In a business condition, you might want only the owner should be able to swap the numbers, right? So here also you can give the same thing. Okay, only the owner can call the balance. Let me call the function. Let me be generic here so that it's easier for us later, right? Can call the function. Yeah, require message.sender equal to owner, require message.sender equal to owner. So possibly some other function also requires this. Let's say only the owner will be able to send money, let's say. Okay, also, yeah, any function you can write this require statement any function depending on the logic that your program works on, right? Also remember that some things can be done, let's say pay to contract is there, right? So here you can say require message.sender is not equal to the owner, which means owner will not be able to pay to the contract. Owner will not be able to call this contract. So here you can say owner cannot call the function, right? So this means not equal to. So exclamation equal to, and equal to is used for conditions, right? So that's how you write a require statement or if else statement. So where a modifier comes into picture is that you are using require statement, the same thing, message.sender equal to owner, only the owner can call the function thrice, right, in the same function. So require, this is also the same thing, this is also the same thing, right? Now in a 130 line of code contract, which is a dummy contract kind of, you have three require statements that you are using. Imagine a program which is written for 1000 lines of code, 1500 lines of code, right? So it will become very difficult for you to manage these require statements, write it again and again and again, right? So what modifier says is, instead of writing an entire require statement inside a function, use a modifier so that it becomes easier for you. So ideally what a modifier does in a Solidity program is convert this require statement into a single word, right? Previously, why did we have this require statement in the first place? Reduce 5 lines of code using if and else statement into 1 line of code. Now 1 line of code is going to be reduced into one word itself. That's by the modifier. So we'll look at how to create this modifier. So go to the top. Probably I can create the modifier here, right? And of course, as you would have guessed by now, modifier is the keyword used in the modifiers, and I need to give a name for this, right? So I can say only owner. Make sense? Because I want to make this function to be accessible only by the owner. So I can give any name, but this makes more sense, right? So once I do this, I'm going to open it, right? And here it says modifier body does not contain underscore as an error, right? We'll come to that. So what required statement I want to reduce into a single word is this message.sender equal to owner, right? This one. Yeah. So I'll write that inside the modifier, require message.sender equal to owner, only whatever, right? And in a modifier, you go to the next line and complete the modifier using a underscore, right? Now you see that the error has gone. So only if you give the underscore, the modifier will work, right? I'll explain you how this works in the backend. What is the usage of this underscore? Okay. Now what you can do is you have created a modifier and you told me that you don't need the require statement. You are going to reduce the require statement into one word, right? This is the one word, right? Only owner. So let me go to this function, and instead of writing require message.sender equal to owner and all of these things, I have reduced it to a modifier and I can say public only owner, right? So I can give the modifier in the function declaration itself and comment it out, right? Same thing can be done for this also. Here I will say public only owner view this, right? Which means I can delete the require statement. Again, sending money public only owner can do this and delete this, right? So let's try it out. Let's try to get the balance and see if the same thing is working now also, right? So delete this off, go to deploy, you will get this all of these things and get balance, right? Okay. So now since I deployed with CCC57, that is the owner. Let me go to some other account 4B48A and I'll try to call the get balance. So here you can see, just like previously when we had the required statement separately in all the functions, now also it is giving reason provided by the contractors, only the owner can call the function, right? So that is the use of modifiers. Now we'll come to why this underscore important. Okay, that seems very odd, right? In none of the other functions we have given this underscore concept or whatever. Now what this underscore means is that whenever a function is called, okay, let's say this get balance is called, right? This has a modifier called as only owner. So in the backend, what happens is whenever you say only owner, the entire code within the function, in here we have only one this thing, right? This will be copied and it will go to the modifier, paste it in this place where the underscore is there, right? The entire function body will be copied and it will be executed within the modifier. So that's the concept of this underscore itself, right? So that is how it happens in the backend. You will not be able to see how this copies and do it. It will happen inside the EVM only, but that is the concept. Understand why we need this underscore in the first place, right? So these are the concepts regarding require statements and modifiers. As a summary, require statements are used if you want to conditionally execute a code. If the required statement condition given inside the required statement is true, it will go to the next line. If it is false, it will not go to the next line at all, right? So if you think required statement is a replacement for if else, it's not, right? Only if you do something like if the condition is met, do something, else revert, you can use a require statement. There can be cases where if the argument says add, then do c is equal to a plus b. If the argument says subtract, then do c is equal to a minus b. Else do c is equal to a multiplied by b. That kind of conditions cannot be written using a require statement, right? So there are use cases for each and everything that we are seeing: if else statements, require statement, modifiers, etc., right? But it's always a good thing to use modifier because your readability of the code will increase, and it is a much more efficient thing to do in the Solidity programming language, right? Now modifier, as a recap, is going to reduce your require statement into a single word, and you can give this modifier name inside the function declaration itself, right? So that's the concept of require statements and modifiers. We'll see in the next section.